Hey, Cashflow Ninjas, real quick before we jump into today's episode. I've been asked by many people recently, what has been the one thing that has made all the difference on my journey as a business owner and investor? I started businesses and I've invested in businesses. I've invested in single family real estate, multifamily real estate. I still have a sizable portfolio of multifamily real estate, historic resorts, mobile home parks, oil and gas, life settlements, gold and silver, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I could go on. But the one thing that has changed the financial trajectory for myself and my family has been infinite banking. Yes, you heard that correctly. That is the number one thing I've done over the past 2 decades that have made the single biggest difference. And it's not even close. Setting up and building out a family banking system using infinite banking has enabled me to create my own financial system. This year, it has allowed me to focus and not pay attention to all the chaos in the global economy and global financial markets. I really don't pay attention to all the noise about tariffs, trade wars, markets violently going down and then going back up, or interest rates skyrocketing and wrecking real estate deals and other alternative investment deals. Do not be beholden to other systems. Create your own system. If you're interested in working with me and my team at Producers Wealth to set up your own banking system or your own business and family banking system, then go to getwealthyforsure.com. That's getwealthyforsure.com. When you go to getwealthyforsure.com, you can request a free copy of my best-selling book, Get Wealthy for Sure. Only pay for shipping. You can also watch all of our presentations and schedule a call to explore infinite banking options with me and my team. You don't have to be powerless amidst the chaos. You too can have a financial strategy that provides certainty, predictability, and clarity. You and your family can also get wealthy for sure. Go to getwealthyforsure.com to start your journey today. The world is going through changes. Changes happening at a speed that we have never seen before. This is leading to disruption, chaos, panic, fear, hysteria, and a turbulent economy and marketplace. How do you protect your wealth in a turbulent world? How do you invest for cash flow in alternative assets to escape the rat race in times of uncertainty? How do you decentralize yourself, your family, your community, your business, and your investments to become sovereign and escape the matrix? If you are looking for strategies, tactics, and techniques to escape the rat race and matrix, you are in the right place. My name is MC Laubscher, and this is Cashflow Ninja. This is Cashflow Ninja. I'm MC Laubscher. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode and spending your most valuable resource, your time, once again with me. Everything Cashflow Ninja is at cashflowninja.com. We've got over 1,000 podcasts. We've got 4 books, reports, webinars, and much, much more, all at cashflowninja.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the #1 newsletter in the alternative wealth strategy and alternative asset investing space, the Wealth Dojo. You can subscribe to the Wealth Dojo by going to cashflowninja.com/subscribe. I've got a fantastic show for you today. I'm joined by David Newman. He runs Do It Marketing. You can check it out at doitmarketing.com. David has great strategies to help you and your business, along with your message, stand out in a very, very crowded marketplace. He talks about a concept of market eminence, which is you and your message standing out in this crowded marketplace and being everywhere. Very excited to dive into this with David. David, it's great to see you.
Hey, MC, thanks for having me. This will be fun.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to our conversation. For my listeners and my viewers that are not familiar with you and what you do, can you please share a little bit about your background and journey?
Sure, absolutely. So I started out as a corporate consultant, meaning I was consulting, but for large companies. So technology consulting companies, management consulting firms. And then in 2002, I struck out on my own, foolishly, like literally foolishly, asking myself, I know how to coach, I know how to consult, I know how to train. How hard can this be? And like most entrepreneurs, I found out how hard it can be. And as you know, MC, when you're on your own, it's not about doing the work, it's about getting the work, it's about selling the work. So I had a couple rough years there while I was figuring things out. And then eventually I realized that I need to master marketing, sales, business development, and some client getting mojo. I needed some client getting DNA because I had none. And I made every mistake in the book. I made the good ones twice because they were so much fun. Literally every newbie entrepreneur, dead end, brick wall, manhole cover, if it was there to be run into or fallen into, I ran into it, I fell into it. But about 3 or 4 years into this, I was having so much fun as a student because I didn't start out teaching marketing or sales. I started out with no niche, no specialization. I was teaching anything to anyone as long as it was a business topic. So literally one day it was time management. The next day it was performance reviews. The next day it was team building. The next day it was corporate culture. Folks would ask me, so David, what do you train and speak on? And I say, no, I'm a professional trainer. I'm a professional speaker. What do you need spoken on? I will go to the library. I will get some books. I will figure it out. And then boom, there's your program. So I was having so much fun really becoming a student and an absorber of marketing and sales and business development that it struck me one day, wait a second. I was so clueless, so lost, so broke. I now know how this magic system works. Why don't I teach what I found out and what I learned and applied in my own business to other solopreneurs, other professional service providers? So that took me about 6 years to figure all of that out. And so in 2008, 2009, I started doing an early iteration of this business. And then fast forward to today, and I do help people with some combination of marketing, sales, business development, all of which I put under an umbrella of Market Eminence. And I've written 3 books, and I host the podcast, and I was fortunate to have you as a guest on the podcast. And so now I've got sort of a one-man empire here teaching founders and CEOs and entrepreneurs about how to build their own market eminence.
What were some of the mistakes, the biggest mistakes that you made? Because I think there's a ton of my listeners and viewers that can relate to this. And how did this kind of shape this new approach that you have at doing marketing and this concept of market eminence, which I really, really appreciate?
So, MC, if we're going to talk about mistakes, how many hours is this show? How many hours do you have for me, my friend? So I'll unpack some of the biggies. And one of the biggest ones, and I'm sure you see this with your clients all the time, good work speaks for itself, or good work should sell itself. And so this is the problem where we have all kinds of entrepreneurs, experts, business owners. They say, my clients love me. Clients are, over the moon happy. But when I'm talking to a new prospect, I'm a nobody. I'm the best kept secret. I don't have any marketplace gravity or presence, or there is no level of fame or micro fame to what I do. And part of that is perception, because we actually don't get hired based on our expertise. We get hired based on the perception of our expertise. So there are so many brilliant, smart, valuable entrepreneurs, experts, business owners out there that unless they get their story out in the right way, unless they get their expertise out into the public marketplace of ideas in a way that not only sounds different, but that actually is different. So consider how many financial planners, financial advisors are, how many of them are there in the universe. There's only one guy that talks about get wealthy for sure. One guy, right? So you are all about the outcomes. You are all about innovative, different strategies that other people who might look like they do what you do, but you're playing this on a completely different level. You're saying things that they don't say. You're doing things that they don't do, and you are advising people with really smart, contrarian, different advice and strategies that others would actually be afraid to. I couldn't say that. I couldn't advise that. I couldn't do that. That's not safe. That sounds risky. That sounds dangerous. That sounds crazy. So like Steve Jobs said, the major spoils in any arena, they go to the crazy ones. They go to the rebels. They go to the misfits. They go to the mavericks. And there's 90% in any industry, 90% of the companies, the experts, the founders look the same, sound the same, act the same. It's the top 10%. It's the crazy ones like you and me, my friend. It's the crazy ones that's like, wow, they're out there. And the mantra that I would share, the mistake that people are making is playing it safe. And the mantra that I would share to encourage you to stop playing it safe is if you don't risk turning some people off, you will never turn anybody on. And now the marketplace is so flooded with experts and artificial intelligence and bots and automation that the most human voice in the marketplace that is relevant and brings relevant value to solve urgent, specific, pervasive problems, that humanity, that perspective, that lens, if you bring your battle scars and your war stories, and you bring your lens and your perspective and your biases and your opinions and your recommendations and what's your slant on the world, what's right, what's wrong, what's your personal manifesto. If you were to, you're a revolutionary and you're waving the flag on top of the embassy, what is it that you want your followers to hear? It's that kind of person. Those are all metaphors, of course. No one should get up on a roof with a flag. But those metaphors, that is how strongly and clearly the market mavericks stand out. I feel sorry for the plain vanilla people who are trying to compete with that, because you're not going to win.
Yeah, playing it safe, like you said, and it is that thing, especially when you're starting out, that people have, that they feel like they want to be liked by everyone, and they just, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. Just want to go along and find my ideal customer or client.
Yeah.
But in the end, you're never going to find them if you don't stand out. And to your point, authenticity today is currency. It's crazy. I was having this conversation with someone in the past week, just of like, if you're just authentic, you show up, you do what you said you were going to do, and you do it well, and you are authentic with your ideas and your messaging and so forth, you're already a breath of fresh air right now, because everything is just, we're living in a marketplace full of GPT's best marketing ideas, right?
Yes. So that brings up another point, actually, that is a factor in this concept of market eminence. With ChatGPT and all of the AI tools that are wonderful and amazing, so don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-AI.
Me neither.
But the signal to noise ratio has just been jacked up by a factor of 1,000. 1,000. I just recently read there's something like 620,000 pieces of AI generated content posted daily. Now, to me, that seems low. That should at least be in the millions. But I think the last stat I saw was that there's 620,000 pieces of AI generated content posted online every single day. That means 620,000 were online yesterday. 620,000 new ones are coming online today. 620,000 more are coming tomorrow. And if you're not authentic, if you're not bringing a unique perspective of relevant value to the marketplace, the problem with competing with AI, as far as information, advice, AI for most people is instant, perfect, and free, right? It used to be that we want things, now good and cheap. It's now instant, perfect, and free. You can argue with perfect because AI is not 100% perfect yet. And I'm talking about today. Tomorrow, the answer might be different because it's changing so fast. But so instead of sharing how-to information, all this AI-generated content, it can program computers, it can write software, it can build code, it can make videos, it can do music, it can dub us into Arabic like that. Immediately, you and I are native Arabic speakers. It's amazing. The thing that AI cannot do is AI cannot humanize your human perspective. So here's what I mean by that. We're so focused on how-to and 7 strategies and 10 principles. How-to content, that is dead. That's over. AI has won that battle. AI can do how-to content all day better than any humans. Where we can win is if we start sharing how to think about a topic, what to believe about a topic, and how to prepare for what's coming next. Those 3 things AI cannot do, and it certainly cannot do perfectly, at least not as of right now. But what the organic human brain can do is I can tell you how to think about a problem differently. That's going to give you new insights, new ahas, and new perspectives. I'm going to tell you what beliefs you should hold and what self-soothing delusions you should get rid of. And then I can help you see around corners, how to prepare for what's coming next. So whether you call that trend watching, trend spotting, but if you're dealing with CEOs, you're dealing with founders, you're dealing with executives of any kind, the number one thing those people hate is they hate being surprised. They hate being blindsided. They hate being set back. If you can be the voice of what the future holds, whether that future is 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years from now, you can help them prepare for what's coming next. You can help them not be surprised, not be blindsided, and not be sidetracked or blown out of the water by what's coming next, because you can be that future predictor. You can de-risk their future. You can set them on a trajectory that makes them better off, smarter, safer, richer, better prepared for what's coming next. Only humans can do that. And so this higher order of thinking, literally thinking about thinking, is the way that the category pirates talk about it. And there's some fantastic books if you want to go further into that. So for example, Niche Down is a fantastic book, and Think Bigger is another fantastic book. But in those 2 books, the category pirates, which is this kind of forward-thinking consulting folks that are really smart, Chris Lockhead is one of them, they say thinking about thinking is the most valuable thinking there is. And I love that quote. Thinking about thinking is the most valuable thinking there is. And that's what market leaders do to achieve market eminence and category domination.
It kind of like that philosophy is very much in alignment with Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach, because one of the things that he shares and teaches is like, look, I'm not going to understand your business better than you do. I'm not going to tell you to do X, Y, and Z, and you're going to knock it out of the park. But what I am going to help you with is to think about your thinking about your business.
That's right.
So, and then he just provides frameworks and tools to think about your thinking about your business. And you come up, I mean, it's incredible once you've got the right frameworks and you've got the right state, as Tony Robbins would say.
Yes.
The ideas that flow from that. So those are great insights. And one of the things that you just mentioned too, forward thinking, if you could share things that are coming down the road, for of people, and which have very high probability of happening, to help them prepare. And even if it doesn't happen, they were prepared for it.
Yes.
I have seen that in my world, that is extremely valuable. And you know what's even more valuable is when people have had experience what they see now and what then came after the events of what was unfolding. And I think, since 2020 to 2025, there's been a lot of things happening in different parts of the world. And there have been people that have really become thought leaders because they're like, look, I saw this, in the 80s,
Right.
in Eastern Europe, and this is what happened next. Or myself being from South Africa saying, hey, I've seen this happening over the past 10, 15 years, and this kind of what comes next.
Yeah.
It's been extremely valuable. So that whole experiencing it and then sharing, hey, I've already experienced this. This is probably what's going to come and happen next. Extremely valuable in the marketplace.
Yes. Totally agree. And I think people sometimes don't take that personal experience as important as it is. They don't take it seriously because they go, oh, well, that's just my experience. That's just what I've seen. That's just my perspective. That is the most important thing, is that you have lived it. You have seen, just the way that you said it was so perfect, MC. You've seen the before and the after. You've seen this play out from square one all the way to square 10. So you have a pattern, and you can now help other people with that pattern recognition and that trend spotting. So that, and you also said something really brilliant, which is even if you're wrong, they're prepared. A little bit more of a cynical angle on this would be, people have terrible memories. So we can do David and MC's 10 predictions as of right now. 6 months later, 6 of them come true, 4 of them don't. No one's going to come back to this recording and go, you guys got it wrong 4 times out of 10. But it's like, no, but we saved millions of dollars and hundreds of lives with the 6 that we got right.
Yep, absolutely. Can you break down the parts of market eminence? Because you've got a couple of pieces going into play here. Like if we're formulating this as like, hey, here's something to think about, and here's how you get to market eminence.
Yes. So there is a strategic part of market eminence, and there is a tactical part of market eminence. The strategic part is really thinking through some of these things that we've been talking about. So your lens, your perspective on the world, what's right with the world, what's wrong with the world, what myths do you want to bust, what self-soothing delusions do you want to destroy? Thinking about your clients, your best customers. What do you wish that they knew before doing business with you that would get them on board much more quickly with a lot less resistance? What industry practices are you ready to rail against, teach and preach and pontificate against, that are holding your clients back, that are holding your entire industry back? What, outdated, antiquated rules, regulations, customs, traditions are no longer serving your clients, but no one's calling out that elephant in the room. So once you have your positioning, packaging, messaging totally dialed in, then you're ready to start spreading and amplifying that market eminence in front of audiences that actually matter. So there are 3 legs to the tactical stool. One is speaking, and I'll talk about what speaking really means because it's a much broader term than just speaking on a platform in front of a live audience. But it's speaking, publishing, and podcasting. So I consider what we're doing right now, MC, this is obviously, we're podcasting, you're hosting, I'm guesting, we're doing this together, but this is a form of speaking. It's a form of speaking for you because people look to you as the convener and the host that is filtering and sorting the marketplace of voices that are worth paying attention to. So thank you again for having me on as a voice worth paying attention to. I'm obviously benefiting because I'm getting to connect with your audience. Some of your audience is going to find this incredibly valuable. He's so handsome. He's so smart. He's so humble. Other people are going to be like, MC, who was that nutbag? Who was that crazy man that you had on a couple episodes ago? I didn't like him at all, but that's okay because my job is to polarize, right? Bring in the very best people who you would love to work with and repel the rest. So speaking includes speaking on podcasts, speaking on webinars, speaking on YouTube, speaking at your own private events, both online and offline, seminars, webinars, your own conferences. A lot of people have their own events that they produce, CEO roundtables, CEO forums, online groups. All of these different speaking mechanisms is you using your physical voice to impact the marketplace, share your expertise, and offer relevant value and solutions to people who need them most. The second leg of the stool is publishing. And by publishing, I don't necessarily mean a fantastic book like your fantastic book or my books. Publishing can be micro publishing. Publishing can be, what are you posting on LinkedIn? What are you posting in your target market's trade and professional association magazines? What are you posting if you have one of these Forbes CEO Council? You're in Forbes, you're in Fast Company, you're in Inc., you have a column in some industry publication or blog. How can people regularly access your thinking? And do you have a Substack? Are you on Reddit? Are you doing marketing in all these various forums like Quora? But we need evidence of your thinking. It could be a LinkedIn newsletter. It could be super simple. It could be an email newsletter that goes out to your subscribers and fans. But we need to capture your thinking in written format so people can read it, sit with it, absorb it, and benefit from it. And most importantly, pass it along to others. So if you have really interesting, contrarian, valuable content, trust me, it will get shared, it will get amplified, it will get passed around. And then the third element is a subset of what we already talked about with speaking, which is specifically podcast guesting. And if the podcast guesting goes well, obviously consider having a podcast of your own. Why is podcasting such an important standout strategy that it deserves its own category? I will tell you, and you know this because you're a podcast host, and I know this because I'm a podcast host, but this is a very intimate format. This is a format where we are literally in people's ears whispering. I'm shouting, you're whispering because you're more sophisticated than that. But you are talking to them for an extended period of time, 25, 35, 45 minutes. They are getting a regular dose of your personality, your perspectives, how you think, how you talk. I've had people that I've met at conferences who come up to me, they shake their hand, they want to give me a hug, they high-five me as if they're my best friend, and I don't know them from Adam or Eve because I have not had the benefit of listening to hours and hours and hours of them talking, but they've had the benefit of listening to hours and hours and hours and hours of me talking. So because it's like an intimate conversation at scale, podcast guesting is one of the best ways to spread the message of your contrarian viewpoints, what your company does, how it's different, cooler, better, faster, smarter than any competing and alternative strategy, and also to share your message and to amplify your impact so that even if people don't become clients, even if people never go to your website, never download your goodies, never hear from you again, because they've had 45 minutes of your expertise, you have had a significant impact on making their lives or businesses better. And again, word spreads there, just like with your written content, with your publishing content, that this guy is on all the podcasts. And again, it's not all the podcasts, it's all the podcasts in your target market, all the podcasts that reach the people that you want to reach. So you don't need to be famous, but you do need to be famous in a little teeny tiny pond. And that little teeny tiny pond is the pond where most of your clients and prospects live, and they're already paying attention. These are already channels that they recognize and respect and frequent a lot.
And of course, bringing it back to the biggest part is when you are on all these platforms, you've got people are reading your content, they're listening to it, they're watching to it on videos and so forth. Having that message down and having a contrarian message and standing out and not being vanilla is right at the core of this again.
Yes. No one. So think about the content that you pass along, right? Because we're all both producers and consumers in this attention economy.
Yep.
The things that fade to the background, that earn no attention whatsoever, are things that look like, sound like, and act like everybody else. I mean, that is camouflage. That is vanilla. That fades instantly. The ones that you pass on, like, oh my gosh, do you listen to MC's podcast? Oh man, if you listen to any other kind of financially smart podcast, forget everybody else. You need to listen to MC. You need to subscribe to MC's podcast. That kind of word of mouth, you can only replicate if you're different. And when I say different, it's meaningfully different, meaning you're different in areas that your audience finds relevant, valuable, compelling, and actionable. So having a whole bunch of theory and complicated jargon and buzzwords, that again is vanilla. That again is going to fade to the background. So how can you be the democratizer and the popularizer of something that is ordinarily very complex, but they come to know you as the great simplifier. They come to know you as the great democratizer. That this seems really hard when I hear everybody else talk about it. When I hear MC talk about it, it is simple. It is clear. It is obviously the smartest path forward. And I need to sign up with MC because he made it understandable. He democratized and popularized the ways that you can get wealthy for sure. So think about how can you take the complex and make it simple. How can you be the antidote to what's wrong with your industry, those common myths, those common practices? How can you start to be the dispenser of uncommon wisdom?
You also talk a lot about systems and scaling this kind of machine, right?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that and what strategies you have? Because there might be some people that say, okay, I've done written content. I've got a book. I've got a podcast. I'm on a guest on other people's shows. I've got a little bit of traction in the market, but I feel like I'm just hitting a ceiling right now. How do I break through that, and how can I scale this?
Right. So I think part of it is strategically repurposing your assets. Part of it is also staying on message. I talk to so many experts, so many authors, so many CEOs that say, I've already said this. They've already heard me talk about this on podcasts. They've already seen my articles on LinkedIn. And I don't have anything new to say. If you don't have anything new to say, congratulations. That means that you are a consistent, omnipresent beacon of wisdom. Now, here's what happens when you say, I've already said it before. There are new people that have never heard it before. There are people who heard it 6 months ago who forgot it and need to hear it again. And there are people who are watching you and saying, I wonder how long he's going to stay on this jag. I wonder how long he's going to stay talking about market eminence or get wealthy for sure. How consistent is he? Is he reliable? Is he trustworthy? Or is he off onto the next topic and the next flavor of the month or flavor of the year? So this level of consistency, people, we will get bored with our content way before our target market will ever be saturated with it, ever. Please understand that. And in the age of AI, that is doubly true today because they are flooded with so much noise and so much crap that is simply scraped from the internet. If they hear a consistent beacon of wisdom and they subscribe to you online, offline, all the channels that you just mentioned, MC, video, podcast, article, book, blog, a newsletter, Substack, all of these different things, you are now a beacon. You are now the, unlike a lot of the tugboats that are pushing and pulling and huffing and puffing and persuading and convincing, you are the lighthouse. You are the beacon that is illuminating the rocks, that is showing the safe passage through the tricky locks that they have to navigate. And they will come to recognize and respect your authority because you keep showing up, and you keep showing up with relevance and value and insight that they can use immediately.
We talked a little bit about AI. and the impact of it on in the marketing world and
Yeah.
messaging and content and so forth. What are some of the other things that you're looking at in the marketing world that is piquing your interest, or some of the other trends that you're seeing?
I think it's funny because in this post pandemic world, people are really hungry for face to face. So I'm going to more conferences, I'm going to more summits, I'm going to more in person masterminds where I'm invited to speak. It's not my mastermind, but the mastermind owner invites me in to come in and speak to Market Eminence about Market Eminence to their client base. So this hunger to connect. There was someone else, and I wish I could quote because it's not my original thing, but community is the new content. The soundbite is community is the new content. World doesn't need more content. We've already established that, but they do need more community and more human to human connection. So face to face events, live in person, small retreats, CEO forums, micro conferences. Get 20 C-suite leaders in your target market together. Rent out a nice hotel conference room for a day, bring in some amazing food, and then facilitate the connection between these 20 CEOs. I have a hard time believing that you would not generate tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of new business every time you did that. Because people think that this convening is a magic superpower. And in a way, it is. Is it hard? No, not really. But does it have this amazing magnetic force that even if they meet 6 or 7 other amazing people at your event, who gets the credit? You do, because you curated who's sitting around that table, who's invited into that closed, private, invitation-only space. So you get the credit, even though they're having an amazing time connecting and relating with each other. I think the human-to-human events, human-to-human connections and communities, that is really the future of where people need to start making some investments.
That's very, very powerful stuff there. I think if anybody is listening to this, I think you just threw out some gold there, my friend. I'm starting to see that too. And to your point, if you put together an incredibly just talented and powerful group, I mean, right there, you're the person facilitating this whole thing, right?
Yes.
So, no, I appreciate that. David, we talk a lot about business on this show, cash flow, investing, all the fun stuff, but we also, spend some time talking about legacy and leaving a legacy and living your legacy. So one of the questions that I ask all of my first-time guests, if you cannot pass on any money to future generations, and you're only allowed to pass on 3 principles or values to them to help them achieve success, build wealth, have an incredible life, what would they be?
Well, the first one is action eliminates fear. Anything that you're afraid of, anything you're uncertain of, take the first baby step action, because action is where you get feedback and data to course correct and to move forward. So anytime that I have any sort of fear, hesitation, that's one of my go-to mantras is action eliminates fear. The second one is really about loving your work. And I know that's an enormous cliche, but I have had clients and engagements where I hated every single minute of that interaction. Needless to say, that impacted my happiness, that impacted my family, that impacted my kids, that impacted my mood, that impacted my sleep. Life is literally too short to not do work that you love with clients that you love. So if some client, if some project, if some initiative is making you crazy, you need to cut that out of your life as soon as practically possible. So that's number 2. And then number 3, I would say, you have to have life-work balance. Not work-life balance, but life-work balance, meaning that your life comes first. the kind of life that you want to lead, the kind of freedom that you want to have, the kind of travel that you want to do, the kind of experiences that you want for you, your family, your loved ones, your kids, your grandkids, whatever it is. Prioritize that, and then make sure that whatever you're doing for work supports that, feeds that, and fits into that. I think where a lot of people are miserable, and this is the source of a lot of substance abuse, divorce, suicide, you name it, is we put work above absolutely everything else, and then our lives and our moods and our families and our legacy begins to suffer. So you cannot leave a meaningful legacy if you are miserable most days. And you got to get out of that situation as well. So think in terms of life-work balance, not the other way around.
Very powerful stuff, David. Appreciate you sharing that. Where can my listeners and my viewers, where can they follow you? Where can they connect? What are some of the best web sites or places to on the web to check out what you're up to and what you do?
Absolutely. Thank you, MC. I appreciate the question. We have a whole bunch of free resources. If people go to doitmarketing.com/hello, there are downloads, there are videos, there are some podcast episodes, there's info sheets, there's all kinds of cool things that are there. And that's all free, no opt-in required, no email address. That's simply a gift to your podcast listeners for tuning in. doitmarketing.com/hello. And then we have a podcast called The Selling Show, most recently featuring Mr. MC Laubscher. So you'll see him in the Rogues Gallery there. And the podcast has done really well. We're over 450 episodes. I would encourage people to choose a topic or choose an expert, and please dive into the back catalog there. And then we also have some free online training at doitmarketing.com/webinar. So all of those are great places to go if you'd like to learn more.
Awesome. Awesome. I will put all of those links in the show notes. David, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge and your journey and just providing so much value for all of my listeners and my viewers.
So much fun, MC. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for all of my listeners and viewers for, again, spending your most valuable resource, your time, once again with me on the show. Everything Cashflow Ninja is at cashflowninja.com. That's cashflowninja.com. We've got over 1,000 podcasts, 4 books, reports, webinars, and much, much more, all at cashflowninja.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the #1 newsletter in the alternative wealth strategy and alternative asset investing space, the Wealth Dojo. You can subscribe to the Wealth Dojo by going to cashflowninja.com/subscribe. Until next time, live infinitely. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objectives, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.